Briscoe picks up his first win of the season on a visit to Pocono. And from the NHRA, Ron Capps drops by in studio on this edition of Fast Talk.
Fast Talk is presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. Now, here's the host of Fast Talk, Doug Rice.
NASCAR fresh back from their visit to the Poconos, and it does not disappoint, especially for Chase Briscoe. Hi, folks. I'm Doug Rice, joined by Alexis Erickson. Brad Gilley will also be with us today. And from the world of the NHRA, Ron Capps is going to join us in studio here shortly.
Yeah, that's very exciting. We don't get to delve into the world of the NHRA very often, but we're going to today.
And Ron is also going to be participating in an all-star event where he'll actually have to make turns.
Oh.
So we've got a straight line racer that is going to be out of his element. He'll be telling us all about this all-star event that's going on that involves Tony Stewart. But first, let's chat a little bit about the Tricky Triangle, Pocono. Always fascinating. They finally got started a couple hours late because of a rain delay. And Chase Briscoe gets his first win of the year and looked very impressive in doing it, Alexis.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have, going into the race yesterday, had him circled on my list of drivers for getting the win, but you're right, he did. He looked very impressive. He made it a little difficult on himself there at the end when he left pit road a little early and didn't get his fuel cell full, but he was able to do a masterful job there in the final stint of saving fuel and was able to get his first win for Joe Gibbs Racing, which huge day for that young man.
Puts you to the playoffs, does all those things, gets you in the all-star race for next year, and it checks a lot of boxes in the process of leading 72 laps. Let's go ahead and hear from Chase. He was pretty excited.
Yeah, huge weight, huge relief. It's been hard. We've been very, very close. I've won about 10 times. Well, I've lost about 10 times as many races that we've won. So, it's just so hard to win in this series. You have to be perfect. You have to have perfect days, and it all just comes down to execution. And you can have a fast car, but that's
all righty. Anyway, Chase Briscoe wins that event and does so in very interesting fashion. Brad Gilley, the inherent drama came in, as Alexis alluded to, from the fact that at the last pit stop, they had a little bit of a miscue.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe was told to wait on James Small to tell him when to go. But as you know, these drivers mostly are in the habit of actually, as soon as that car drops off the jack, they're gone. And look, all the things they're thinking about in the race cars, they're completing a pit stop and everything that they've got going on. Well, Chase Briscoe was gone, and they thought he might be short. In fact, Denny Hamlin thought, Briscoe's going to run out of gas while I'm chasing him. We're going to be fine. Briscoe had about an extra lap and a burnout left in him, so good on them for that and a big win.
And a big day for Toyota. Giving you our Toyota performance report, they took first and second. Chase Briscoe won it. Denny Hamlin was second. Sixth place went to John Hunter Nemechek. Alexis, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later on. Legacy Motor Club starting to show up regularly in the top 15 and top 10 sometimes.
They really are. They are trending in the right direction. Clearly, they are doing great things over at that program, finally gelling with Toyota and all of the things that they're able to give them and that team. And I'm very impressed with what they've been able to do.
Brad, you look at Toyota now versus 3 years ago, when they were kind of the lone wolves in the game, made a lot of strides in a short period of time, it feels like.
Yeah, they have. I mean, look, you look at Joe Gibbs Racing now, and they have 3 of their cars that are in the playoffs. They have 2 of their drivers with 3 wins each in Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin. Ty Gibbs, they've had some struggles. They've had some great moments also. But I think the more impressive thing, and I know Alexis talked about it, is Legacy Motor Club right now. There was like a switch that was flipped almost at Texas, where both Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek finished in the top 10. John Hunter backed it up with another top 10 the very next week and probably had a couple of more before getting those back-to-back sixth-place runs in Mexico City and this past weekend at Pocono Raceway. And Eric Jones has been right there as well. whatever it is they figured it out in a good way. And I don't want to call them threats to win, but I think they've announced themselves and said, look, we're just not here to run in the back. We are here to contend. And to your point on that, too, 23XI Racing as a Toyota team, they just missed it in what they had planned to do with their brake cooling this past weekend. But Tyler Reddick's in a very comfortable points position. Bubba Wallace is still above the cut line. Riley Herbst is a rookie. He's struggling, but we're expecting rookies to do that. But overall, Toyota has been very, very strong.
John Hunter Nemechek 6th, Eric Jones 13th, Ty Gibbs came home in 14th, and that's your Toyota Performance Report. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. Alexis, we got to talk a little bit about the guy that finished second. You talked about Denny Hamlin anticipating that the guy in front of him, Chase Briscoe, was eventually going to run out of fuel. Didn't happen. But for Denny, a nice comeback after missing Mexico City from the birth of his son to bounce back, win the pole, and almost win another race at Pocono.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows you how good he is. He takes a whole weekend off, basically, comes in, gets the pole, is able to, contend for the win. I think it's interesting when you look at kind of how things played out yesterday. Aero had a lot to do with it. The fact that Chase Briscoe was aggressively saving fuel at one point after not being, getting all the fuel in their fuel cell, told maybe they were like somewhere between like 6 to maybe 9 laps short. That's a lot of laps to be short. So he was aggressively saving, and Denny Hamlin was still not able to really get up to him and challenge him for the lead at all. So, Aero played a big part yesterday. I know Denny was a little bit frustrated about that when he got out of his car, but you have to assume that besides not making it into victory lane, coming off of a weekend where he was out of the car, to follow it up with what he did yesterday at Pocono, I think it was a good weekend for that team.
Brad, it's often said that clean air is king. I've been guilty of saying that a few thousand times. It wasn't just king yesterday. It was emperor. It was crown prince. It was everything. If you got out front and you were leading that race, I felt like it was almost impossible to pass you.
Well, it's magnified at Pocono, and here's why. This is a 2.5-mile racetrack where they're making laps at about 54 seconds or so. You take us to Charlotte Motor Speedway with the Coca-Cola 600, and they're going about as fast, if not faster overall, but on a track that's a mile shorter. That means you're catching lap traffic a whole lot faster. They weren't catching lap traffic yesterday, really. So if you're the race leader, and even when you do catch lap traffic, by the time you get to the tail end of the lead lap, well, those cars are slow enough to where you can just drive by them. They're not going to really interrupt what you're doing from an aero perspective. And I just think that's where it's magnified at Pocono Raceway, that you get out front, and not only do you have clean air, you pretty much have it for the length of a run, and you really get to enjoy that. And which, by the way, yes, Doug, I love it when you talk about clean air being king. I think I like it even better when you describe it as clean air is the god that all these teams pray to.
Yeah, and they were lined up yesterday. They were all on their knees for certain, worshiping the clean air god that ruled Pocono. Coming up, we're going to chat with Ron Capps from the NHRA Funny Car World. He's going to be talking about coming back here and racing at ZMAX Dragway, a special celebrity race that's going to require him to make left-hand turns, and all that comes up next.
This is a Camry. This is a Camry on NASCAR. This is a Camry on NASCAR with Ty Gibbs behind the wheel. Now you're up to speed. You in? Follow the action at tgrna.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, LLC.
Welcome to the land of the free, where we pledge allegiance to the flag, salute racing's rich history, and raise a drink for the new gladiators who dare take on the last great Colosseum. The Bass Pro Shops Night Race NASCAR Playoff Weekend returns to Bristol Motor Speedway September 11th through the 13th. Get a weekend package and a camping spot and make it a weekend to remember. It's not just a night race, it's Bristol, baby.
This is Ryan Priest, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Time to pull down on the handle bell and start rolling them here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
The green flag flies at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
We're about to contest the Coca-Cola 600.
We're racing at Texas Motor Speedway.
Now Keselowski goes way up the racetrack.
Here comes Harrison Burton. He rockets to the lead.
Trouble. Car goes around. It's Chris Buescher.
Joey Logano battles to the outside. They come back to the start-finish line.
Bubba Wallace looks inside. And now here's Byron, takes a quick left to block him. They head back to one.
Here goes Ross Chastain. He's going to the bottom of the racetrack.
Bubba goes up. Blaney hits the outside wall off of turn 2.
Can Christopher Bell do anything with him? He gets down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Briscoe dives to the bottom of the racetrack, side by side. They get loose, they spin. Now Tyler Reddick does the 360, so does Briscoe.
Heading into turn number 7 as he wraps it around. The crowd is cheering for Daniel Suarez here on this final lap.
Allmendinger gets into Alex Bowman. Ross Chastain back out to the front for the final time.
This is PRN.
Welcome back to Fast Talk. It's Doug Rice, Alex Erickson, Brad Gilley, and Ron Capps from the world of the NHRA is joining us. I love it when people get out ahead of events and start doing promotion, and that's why Ron is in studio today, because pretty soon it will be September 19th, and they will be racing the NHRA 4-wide here at ZMAX Dragway, about 3 miles from our studio. Actually, less than that. Ron, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And it was such a radical idea when 4-wide came along, and now it's kind of accepted, and we have a 4-wide essentially in the playoffs for NHRA.
Yeah, I can remember I just got hired by Don Prudhomme, and I remember being at SEMA the year they announced the Vegas track, that Bruton was building the Vegas track. And I was in the backseat of a rental car, still freaking out that I'm driving for the Snake, right, after playing with his Hot Wheels. And Mario Andretti was in the front seat. And we drove out
Well, you're doing some big-time name dropping.
Oh, my God, yeah. That was my first year driving
Yeah.
for him. And I wanted to call everybody I grew up with and say, you won't believe what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But I remember driving out to the plot of land that was next to the NASCAR track and them talking about building the drag strip. And what nobody knew was Bruton, they built the 4-wide, and then they covered 2 lanes with dirt. So that was actually the first 4-wide track built. Later, they, of course, built ZMAX and then made it a 4-wide track. And then we knew it was coming. They moved the dirt over, and if you looked at pictures, you could see half the tower, just half of everything. So he was way ahead of his time. And now we race 4-wide there and here, and now we're going to race a playoffs, which is going to be crazy because the 4-wide is nuts. Chase, Elliott, all my NASCAR friends always ask, what's it like to go 4-wide? And I said, well, it'd be like making Bristol a figure 8 for you guys. Like, it was so wacky the first time we did it. Nobody knew what to expect. And so it's going to be exciting. It's going to be pressure-filled.
Well, follow up on that. What's the difference for you in the cockpit of that funny car sitting there waiting for the Christmas tree to light up than it is just a conventional drag race?
Everybody has their routine, and everybody has an approximate time it takes them to do everything. You got the burnout, you back up, they lift the body, they check things out, and they drop the body, and you roll forward, right? The crew chief has a way, and they're down to the seconds. If I'm a couple seconds longer, believe it or not, I get chewed out a little bit by my crew chief, like we got to speed that up or slow it down. With that being said, you're normally racing one person. If you race John Force, you know he's going to take a long time. He's going to take a while to stage. He's going to pull some games, right? If you race somebody, you just know their routine. Now you add 3 cars, and you have a Christmas tree that you're looking at that normally you look at a pre-stage, a stage, and then a flash of green. It's just you and one other car. And if there's a problem on Sunday race day, you either see the car next to you or you don't. If your car is having issues, believe it or not, this takes place in 3.8 seconds. But if you have issues and you don't see the car next to you, you do what you can to get 13,000 horsepower to hooked up to win that round, or you go home. With the 4-wide, you don't know what's going on in the other 2 lanes, not counting who's next to you. So race day completely changes everything, and that's why I think we see more explosions and blow-ups and things, because the top 2 advance out of every round. And so you don't know if you and the car next to you are having issues, and the other 2 could be having worse issues, and you just don't know. We don't have a radio, a spotter up, on top of the tower telling us what's going on. So you got to make quick decisions, and that's what to answer your question, kind of creates that who knows what's going on.
You know, you had mentioned Chase Elliott. You've been blessed with great partners, Napa being one of them, Toyota. I'm sure you've gotten to have some of these NASCAR stars at ZMAX here, you know, in Charlotte, where most of the NASCAR teams are. What are their reactions when they come out and see something like that?
Oh, you know, I got to do a lot of racing with Tony Stewart, dirt racing early on. Now Tony, of course, is a bona fide NHRA racer, and it's great having him. But I always love having, you know, I had Truex as a partner, a teammate at Napa, Michael Waltrip before that, of course, Chase Elliott now, Bill McAnally's team. All the guys, when they come out, they are floored, and they just can't believe it. And the most respected thing you can get is when we're like, hey, man, stick around on Monday. You want to take a shot or do a burnout in the car? And they're like, nope. So when you get drivers that are that good at what they do, and they are absolutely have no wish to get in the car after standing on the starting line, and that's the other thing about four wide. You know, usually it's two cars, 13,000 horsepower, and you stand before them. And we love taking rock stars and NASCAR teammates up there and standing there. But when you do it at the four wide and it's 40,000 something horsepower all at once, it's craziness. So we love having them out.
Yeah, the other crazy thing, and I mean, look, your best speed is almost 340 miles per hour. And, you know, drag racing historically has been a quarter-mile run, 1,320 feet. But, you know, a while back, you had to go back to 1,000 feet because the cars were getting too fast. And here you guys are in 3.8 seconds or whatever it is, going from a dead stop to almost 340 miles per hour. How do you do it? I can't imagine that force that it must put on you, and then to pay attention to know when to pull the chute and do all those other things.
Well, it's Travis Pastrana wanted to get his nitro license. You guys remember he came out to ZMAX actually, and you know he's done everything in the world. And I remember Tony Stewart, after driving the 8 Fuel dragster and testing in the Top Fuel car, told him, "What you don't know, you don't know." And that was a perfect thing to tell somebody like Travis Pastrana, who's driven everything. Yeah, it's. I tell people this all the time, especially my teammates. We don't have the luxury of having a bad lap at Pocono. I missed my apex. I got run wide. I didn't have a great lap. I can make it up the next two. I can make position somewhere else. We don't have that access to make a decision and go, I wonder if that was the right decision. You have to make a split-second decision on lift, pedal it, whatever you're going to do in the car. Is it going right or left, especially in a funny car? And you have to live with that decision. And sometimes it's the wrong one, sometimes it's the right one. But it's there was never a run where I said, "Oh my gosh, that was perfect. I did everything perfect. The car didn't move, and I made the right decisions." There's always something in the funny car. As many runs as I've made over 30 years, and you could ask John Force the same thing. You never feel like you made the right choice, and you don't have the luxury of second guessing yourself.
We have 3-time Funny Car champion Ron Capps with us from the NHRA world. We're going to continue our conversation with him right after this timeout.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market, performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
When it comes to maintaining your engine to run at peak performance, trust ZMAX Micro Lubricant. ZMAX soaks into metal, so it's easy to add to your oil or gas to disperse carbon buildup in your engine, fuel system, and transmission. Protect your vehicle's engine to the max with ZMAX. Check us out at zmax.com or visit us on Facebook and Twitter to find out more about our full line of products. Remember the name ZMAX for your car, big rig, small engines, firearms, and more. That's ZMAX Micro Lubricant.
This is Daniel Suarez, and you're listening to the PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Hi, it's PRN's Brad Gilly. Did you know you could take PRN with you anywhere? That's right. By downloading the PRN mobile app, you can listen to our live race broadcast from anywhere. Make sure you don't miss a second of the action from the track. Download today for station listings and on-demand access to your favorite studio shows like Fast Talk, The Pit Reporters, or Garage Pass. Get all the latest racing information at your fingertips with the PRN mobile app. Available in the Apple App Store and on Google Play.
Hey, I'm Corley Joy for Speedway Children's Charities. The mission for Speedway Children's Charities has remained true since its founding almost 40 years ago, to care for children in educational, financial, social, and medical needs in order to help them lead happy and productive lives. So many children have benefited from our group in the past, but we need your help now more than ever. There's so much we can do when we all join together, so let's start today. Visit speedwaycharities.org to learn more. I thank you in advance for your help.
Welcome back to Fast Talk, a little peek behind the scenes. Alexis and Ron were talking during the break, and apparently Alexis's husband has raced Ron Capps online.
On iRacing, yeah.
Nice. Probably whooped me, I'm sure.
Well, it's funny because we were talking last night, and I told him that you were going to be on the show, and he goes, "Oh, big iRacing guy."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Really?" Because I didn't know that. And he's
I was
like,
one
"Oh,
of
yeah."
the original beta testers for iRacing.
That's
Dale
awesome.
Jr., myself, Martin, Truex, a few other guys were, before iRacing was iRacing, we were one of the original beta guys. And so it's pretty cool. So
That's
when
very
COVID
cool.
happened, my wife, thank God, I mean, we got through COVID because I was on my rig. I was practicing for races every day that I was going to be in. So, yeah, it's cool. It was a fun little fraternity during COVID to go do that.
And nowadays, it's a stairway to the stars. I mean, you look at people that are very successful in this sport now, and they've never been to a racetrack until they got into a car.
I got invited to the SRX race, right, at Eldora year before last. First drag or only drag race to be invited. And I went and ran laps on iRacing, and I ended up starting on the pole and led for like 6 laps. People were like, where did you? And I said, I was on iRacing all week. So, and then the race we have coming up, the All-Star race you mentioned, IRP and a midget. I was on before I left the house. I got on and just ran a midget around there on iRacing. So I'll let you know how that goes or if it worked.
Well, let's talk about this Celebrity All-Star race that's coming up at IRP that you're going to be a part of.
They're announcing as the days go on this week. I know Tony Stewart and myself were announced. Brad Knopfsinger, Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Rev Kim, he's with one of our sponsors here in town, Michael Lewis, and they're going to announce as the week. And I heard they're from all disciplines. So it's going to be a real true all-star race in midgets at IRP. Of course, your name's synonymous. The Thursday Night Thunder back in the day on ESPN, and watching the Tony Stewarts like I did when I was a kid. And so it's going to be fun to be at IRP racing a midget. I have never been at that track in a midget, so it's going to be crazy. Tony Stewart, I mean, we were together last weekend, and you know, he was excited, probably more than I was. So I can't wait to get there.
Do you know if this will be streamed or if
It'll
be
on Flow Racing.
On Flow?
Yeah, Thursday night.
Fantastic. Yeah, tune into that. That's going to be awesome. I want to talk to you about something that was really exciting that you announced in April, that your team is going to expand in 2026 to a 2-car operation. Talk a little bit about that announcement, why it's the right time, and who you're putting in the seat.
I don't know if it's the right time. This is my 4th year as a team owner, and I am still like, oh my God, what am I doing? Great partners, of course, with Napa and Toyota. And so Maddie Gordon is she's a 21-year-old now. She just turned 21, driving a Sportsman funny car. She became the 100th woman to win an NHRA. She and her little sister, 2 little blondes, build and work on their funny car, their family-run funny car. She's running for a world championship right now. And she's just a ball of fire, a lot of fun, and I can't wait to grew up in the same area I did. She's from Paso Robles. I knew her dad, and it's just I wanted to do something. It's rare, especially in NASCAR and IndyCar. You see a lot of these drivers that come in that are big pockets behind them or big money behind them to get a seat, and I wanted to do what Dom Prudhomme did with me. He hired me not because I brought money, because I didn't, but I want to give somebody a chance I think is going to be really good to represent sponsors, but a good driver, and that's what we're going to do. So we announced that, and now we're looking for the funding. I think we got a primary and a couple of good sponsors already, and hope to make the announcement at our U.S. Nationals in September. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I still can't believe what I'm doing, but I really,
I love your
Very
energy,
exciting.
man. You give off the impression that you're just starting.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, it's there's this mad energy about you that I find really intriguing. Brad?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you've always been a great ambassador for the sport, which is great that, NHRA is the path that you took. But, Ron, we know the passion you have for circle track racing as well. And, growing up in San Luis Obispo, that's 120 miles away from Bakersfield, where Kevin Harvick is from. And, he went one way or kept going around in circles. You went another way. But was there ever a crossroads for you? I mean, was it always drag racing, or did you ever consider going a different way?
I was lucky. My dad was kind of the guy everybody, we had a small drag strip there. He was a guy that everybody kind of brought their cars and everything. I mean, tractor pulls, sprint cars to make their engines better. He was like the local guy. So drag racing was always the thing. I had models I built, a Snake and Mongoose and all that. But I also, Mario Andretti was my ultimate hero. And of course, in that area, my dad worked on a Can-Am car when I was a kid. So our garage always had something cool in it. And it was just a fun childhood for me. We didn't have a whole lot of money. It's not like I came from money. He worked for a Chevrolet dealership for 30-something years. So I was just around cars. And I remember Snake hiring me. I had met Mr. Signori, and nobody in drag racing had been in the IROC series at that point. So I went and tested with them, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. At Talladega, I had Dick Trickle and a bunch of guys talking to me on the radio as we're going around Talladega, and I'm like, what am I doing? I feel like Ricky Bobby. I'm so out of my element, but just the coolest things ever, and just growing up as somebody that loved any kind of racing. So the fact that I got to do it later on, once I drove for Snake, you drive for a legend like that, it opens a lot of doors, which was cool, and I always had a love for circle track racing.
I just realized I built the Mongoose model also. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels. I played with the Hot Wheels. We ran the Hot Wheels car at Indy, the U.S. Nationals, and Snake was there, and he stood behind it. We won the race, which was nuts. That you couldn't script that any better.
Well, you've won the Funny Car Championship 3 times. You're having a pretty good season so far this year. You got a win up at Bristol. Couple of runner-up spots this year. I mean, you could easily add a 4th title this year, can't you?
I sure hope so. We say it every year. It's just, and I'm sure every division, every motorsport, it just seems like it's so tough to win. And as good as sponsors we have, as good as everything that we do right, it's just you really feel like you've accomplished a lot when you're in the winner circle. Same thing with the Cup guys. You watch those cars are so even now, and it just seems like a win is so much harder to obtain. And, I got great sponsors. When we went the whole year, first year, last season, I ever went without a win in 30 years of driving. So that just told me, and we were close. We were on the losing side of a lot of close races. So this year we just keep doing what we're doing, and a 4th championship would be awesome.
Well, I can't wait to see you guys run 4 wide in your championship hunt here in September. Anybody who loves Ron's energy as much as we do, you can get tickets at 1-800-455-FANS or charlottemotorspeedway.com. Just really quickly, if there's somebody out here listening who has never been to an NHRA race, let alone a 4 wide NHRA race, pitch them to come here in September.
I always say it's just the I grew up on the sport, so the fan. The first year we came here, real quickly, I was walking through the pit area with John Force, and we were coming from an autograph thing, just walking through our pit area at ZMAX, and all you heard was fans. They kind of parted the way, and they're going, "Oh my God, there's Ron Capps and John." They could not believe they could get that close to the drivers, and so that just told you how different our sport is from IndyCar and NASCAR. I always tell them it's like going to a football or a baseball game and hanging out in the dugout in between innings, or a rock concert and going with the band between songs and going back out. You get to go in the pit area. Every ticket's a pit pass. It's like going and hang out with Chase Elliott in his bus before the race. You know what I mean? You get to come talk to the drivers, get autographs, bring the kids up, have a conversation, and then watch that driver go 0 to 340 miles per hour right in front of your eyes.
Well, thanks for spending time with us. Best of luck this year in chasing that 4th championship, and I'm intrigued by this IRP adventure. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun.
And you can follow that on Flow Racing. We appreciate Ron Capps being with us here on Fast Talk.
This is Kyle Petty for Echo Park Automotive. As you might imagine, I know a thing or two about cars, and I'm here to tell you about a whole new way to buy a car, truck, or SUV. Did you know that Echo Park Automotive has over 95,000 five-star reviews? On top of that, every car that Echo Park Automotive sells goes through a 190-point inspection to make sure that it looks and drives like new, so you leave happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
The speed, the drama, the only NASCAR race in California. The Toyota Save Mart 350 NASCAR weekend rolls into Sonoma Raceway July 11th through 13th. 3 days of high-speed thrills, edge-of-your-seat action, and family fun in the heart of wine country. Bring the whole family. Kids tickets start at just $10. Don't miss NASCAR's biggest stars battling for victory. Get your tickets now at SonomaRaceway.com. This is NASCAR. This is California. This is Sonoma.
This is Chase Briscoe, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
A NASCAR memory with Doug Rice and Kyle Petty.
They established the Hall of Fame. First two people that get in, besides your dad, is Bill France Sr. and Bill Jr. Your time behind the wheel overlapped with Bill Jr., didn't
Yes,
it?
for sure. For sure. I was called to the truck many times while Bill Jr. was in there. But you know what? What I remember about Bill Jr. as much as anything was being a kid and him sitting and talking to my dad or talking to my granddad. And Bill Sr. would be in some of those conversations, but you'd sit down at the racetrack and they would talk about where the sport was and where the sport was going. Bill was never satisfied with where the sport was. And that is the one thing that I came to admire about him. At the time, I didn't. At the time, I didn't appreciate it as much. But, you know, I'll never forget we were doing some stuff and I was driving for Felix and I was called to the truck and I was reminded gently by Bill France Jr. that this was his sport. And if I would like to participate in his sport, that I needed to kind of change my ways. And I changed my ways so that I could participate in his sport.
Welcome back to Fast Talk. We deviated from our usual current event schedule, having Ron Capps in here. What a fascinating guy.
Oh, he was great.
I never spent a lot of time around him.
He was great to talk to. I mean, you know, you and I both, and Brad, we spend the majority of our time in the NASCAR world and stock car racing. But what they do over there is utterly fascinating. And it was great to talk to him. And as he was walking out, we talked about how when you go there and you're in the stands, it's so powerful. It literally, it shakes your entire being in a good way.
Yeah. Brad, he used the phrase, he said, it moves your organs.
Yeah.
Well, this is true. Yeah. When you were asking him about what do you tell someone who's never been to a drag race, my answer is bring earphones or earplugs rather.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need them for sure.
It's loud and you do feel it. Getting back to the NASCAR world, Chase Briscoe got a win yesterday. Brad, I've been kind of advocating all year long. I didn't think we would have but 10 or 11 winners. Chase Briscoe is now added to that. And I guess there's a few other, dare I say, legitimate candidates that have not won yet.
I was going to say, so far you're right because we only have 11.
Yeah.
But we have 9 races to go here in the regular season as well. And I would agree. There are plenty of legitimate candidates who can win. I think Chris Buescher, I think Tyler Reddick, even though I don't feel like he and both Chase Elliott, who are legitimate candidates, have necessarily shown race-winning speed, it won't surprise anybody if they go to victory lane. And I think that's where we start to look at the people who have not won yet, who could win. That won't surprise us if they go to victory lane. Now, will they? I don't know. I feel like Chris Buescher is kind of on the upswing right now. I think that they're making some big things happen right now. So a lot of potential out there for sure. And think about this. All right, Joe Gibbs Racing had only had 2 winners up until yesterday, and now Chase Briscoe wins. Hendrick Motorsports only has 2 winners in both Kyle Larson and William Byron. Alex Bowman won last year. Chase Elliott won last year. They've not been to victory lane. I mean, so there's great potential to start to add to that list.
And names that you didn't even mention either, which some people might say, oh, that would be surprising. But to me, absolutely wouldn't be surprising. Carson Hocevar. I mean, you think about how much speed he has had. If he got to victory lane in the next 9 races, I would not be shocked. Other drivers at Joe Gibbs Racing, Ty Gibbs is somebody who I know, he has had a really slow start, but I think he's getting to that mark, that demarcation line, of starts where he probably is closer to winning than not. So there's potential, great potential, as Brad said, for quite a few more winners.
Looking at the winners that we have had this year in Cup racing, I honestly feel like there's only one true outlier, and that's Josh Berry.
Yeah.
I did not have Josh Berry on my bingo card for winning a race this year, especially so early in the season and going to Vegas and dominating. Is Brad, in your mind, or Alexis, is there anybody else that, okay, this one doesn't look like the rest of them? That's won?
No, not for me, because I know Shane Van Gisbergen won Mexico City, but didn't we all expect him to do something on a road course at some point this year?
Yep.
There are people who might not expect Austin Cindric to win, but guess what? He's actually won over the past few seasons and done something with that race car. I honestly don't think so. And to the Josh Berry point, when he won Vegas, and look, he's been very good at Vegas. He won back-to-back races in the Xfinity Series in 2 different cars at Junior Motorsports. But my wish for him is that by the time we get to the playoffs, no one says, oh, well, here's a guy who won from behind the cut line. Well, he raced his way back up to 16th in the standings yesterday. I want Josh Berry to be within the top 16 because I want people to look up and say, okay, Josh Berry is someone who, to your point, maybe we overlooked at the beginning of the season, but we don't need to overlook anymore because they're performing week in and week out with a lot of speed.
No, they're showing up, and at every race you see them, they're running around the top 10. They've had some tough luck. I do want to go back in time a little bit about the Mexico City thing. Some people chattering about kind of the legitimacy of SVG being in the playoffs, being a 33rd place driver that comes in and wins a race. I don't get that. I don't understand why anybody would say that. You know what the rules are when the season starts. They're laid out. If you win, you're in the playoffs.
Doug, I'll tell you why people say that. Because people love to complain. And they want something to complain about. I mean, honestly, you have people that want to go back to, the old point system where, we just run points the whole season, which, that had its time, but is nowhere near, in my opinion, as exciting as what we have now. And so you're going to always have naysayers that want something different, that want to change the way things are. But as far as I'm concerned, the way in which SVG won Mexico City, I don't think that's not going to be the only track that he has success on this year, because obviously we have more road courses. He's getting better on the ovals. He is improving. And so I would definitely not say that is not a legitimate win or a legitimate way into the playoffs personally.
Brad, what do you think? Why do we have these? Why are people bringing these subjects up?
Well, because, look, last year when Harrison Burton won at Daytona, and no disrespect to him, he was 32nd in points, kind of like Shane Van Gisbergen, but I don't know that we expected Harrison Burton to win. And sure, you could look at it and say, well, he took away a playoff spot. I like the system we have now, and I like the way we pick our playoffs drivers. I would also be happy if we said we're taking the top 10 in points or the top 12 in points and filling out the rest of it with winning drivers. The one thing that I feel like kind of bothered me, for lack of a better term, last year was to think, gosh, here are drivers who really performed week in and week out, that were, up there within the top 12, top 10, but didn't make the playoffs. The biggest highlight was Martin Truex Jr., 4th in the regular season standings a couple of years ago, but didn't make it. But we also spent so many years hearing drivers get out of cars saying we had a great points day, and we got sick of hearing that phrase. I'm still sick of hearing that phrase. So we emphasized winning. So I'm okay with that. But I think when you look at a driver who really performed, for whatever reason fell short, they fell short, for whatever reason fell short, didn't make the playoffs over someone who spent most of the year running 25th or worse and all of a sudden had that one magic day, and now they get to jump up, 10 to 15 spots in the point standings by the end of the season. So I understand why someone might not like that. I like that there's an emphasis on winning because it has created so many great moments in our sport.
We still hear we had a good points day. It's just under the table, and it has to do with stage points.
Yeah.
And you watch people fight for those top 10 positions twice in a race and then disappear because they feel like they've done their job by grabbing their stage points for the day.
I mean, you look at like Brad Keselowski yesterday, right? Brad Keselowski had a myriad of things happen that it just wasn't, it could have been an amazing day for that team. It could have been a winning day. They could have made a run into that championship yesterday, had some mistakes. They ended up finishing 9th, which, in the old system, somebody said, oh, a 9th place day, that's a good points day. That 9th place meant nothing for the number 6 yesterday. Nothing. Because of where they are in the standings, they have to win. And so being able to know that and push hard and to take the chances that they need to take to win, that's what this point system is about now.
She mentioned Brad Keselowski, Brad Gilly, 30th in points right now. They only have one way out. They've got 9 races left to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's funny. You talk to Brad, and he just matter of fact tells you, I'm not worried about it. All I have to do is win. Not worried about it. All I have to do is win. I get that you look at it and go, man, shouldn't you be panicked? And I think there's a part of that where they should have been panicked because a lot of that 30th in points, at least at the beginning of the year, was performance related. And then all of a sudden they have days like you expect Keselowski to have, and they get in a wreck, a mechanical failure, a mistake, whatever it is. So at least the performance is getting better, but he truly, and I believe him when he says it, I don't think it's just speak to, hey, get off my back and quit asking. He's like, it doesn't matter. With our system, all I have to do is win, and it kind of erases all those things. So that's just simply how he feels right now.
Yep.
All I have to do is win. Great. Winning is kind of hard.
Yeah.
In this sport.
Not easy.
It's not kind of hard. It's very hard.
By the way, true confession here, I am so tired of us in the media and the people at race saying, well, we have a lot of speed. What are you supposed to have? It's like, we brought fast race cars. Really? They're fast? Isn't that why we do this? Is to go fast?
How about if we brought faster race cars?
Or the fastest.
And I understand that, but I think the point is that there are some cars that come to the racetrack that don't have a lot of speed.
Then that's their problem.
No, it is. It absolutely is. But it's saying, okay, well, we're one of the cars that has the opportunity to win. These other cars, I'm not sure that's.
But bring all the cars with speed that you want to the racetrack. If you don't win, what good did it do?
I like the pet peeves you have.
I know.
This is great.
It just bothers. It enrages me.
We need a Doug Rice old man rant segment.
We do.
Can we get it produced open for that, Ken?
And the TV commentators consistently calling the cars by numbers.
I know. I know.
I cringe.
Hey, you know what's going to happen before the green flag at Echo Park Speedway this weekend? Pace car is going to make that hard left turn on the pit road.
It's not really a hard turn at all. It's not.
I love how that annoys you.
It just glides in there. But anyway. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market. Performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
We work hard to keep our cars looking great on the outside, but engine components need our attention too. That's where you can trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant to disperse carbon buildup in your engine and fuel system, to keep your car or truck running at its peak. By soaking into the metal of your engine, Z-Max Micro Lubricant improves performance, extends engine life, and reduces emissions. Trust the many customers who've said, "Thanks for saving my engine." Find out more at zmax.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Ross Chastain, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Here's Christopher Bell.
My Toyota Camry TRD race car isn't cheap to build and prepare. I have a pit crew that maintains and fixes my equipment. I have a spotter high above the track watching my back, talking me through turns and potential dangers on the track. I physically train to handle the stress of driving. And I have software helping my crew chief and engineers make the right strategy calls. And with all this, I never take my eyes off the road, and neither should you. One distraction can change everything in one instant.
Welcome back, Fast Talk. Before we get into green flag, black flag, Brad Gilley, you got to be a part of the Mexico City broadcast with the Motor Racing Network. We've not been able to talk about this over here. How was your experience? What was all that like for you?
It was pretty awesome. What a true pleasure. I mean, look, a lot of it was hurry up and wait because most of the industry traveled together. We all went from the hotel to the racetrack together. It was long days there, but we had a little bit of time to sit around and walk around and explore and go find some of the restaurants and everything. And truthfully, I've been to resort towns in Mexico, Cancun, Cozumel, just a couple of them. Completely different than Mexico City. Mexico City is like you're in any other city, except I don't speak Spanish. That was the only tough thing for me was the communication barrier. Wonderful people, wonderful racetrack. The way everything was executed at the racetrack was great. And seeing the industry come together, I hope to get invited back next year. I think it's going to be a really neat thing because, you go somewhere and it's unknowns. Once you've been there, now it's a known. So I want to go back with a lot of things being a known. But from the time I landed to the time I took off, it was truly just a great experience the whole way. And I really enjoyed being in a place and seeing a place where I had never been before. And quite honestly, likely would not have gone. So I would recommend if NASCAR goes back to Mexico City, go. It's an amazing experience.
I'm glad you got to experience that. That we live vicariously through you. By the way, I want to shout out to PRN personnel, MRN guy. Alan Cavana will be on a television near you for the next 5 weeks.
I was going to say he's now transforming into TNT pit reporter guy. Yeah, very cool for Alan. Great pit reporter. He's going to do wonderful on their broadcast, and just excited for him to get the opportunity.
Good to see Cavana back on television.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoyed you slumming over here on the radio. So thanks a lot.
And is always welcome back.
Yes, always welcome back. All right, let's do this, which is green flag, black flag.
It's time for another edition of Green Flag, Black Flag.
Righto. All right, we got experts here standing by on the panel. Let's put them to work.
Really, where are they?
I was going to say.
I'm sorry, if you guys would get out of the way.
Yeah.
And here we go. We'll read carefully prepared statements in Green Flag, Black Flag. If our panel agrees with them, they give it a green flag. If they disagree, it gets a black flag. Ow, that hurts. And we have other things up our sleeves as well. Unanimous agreement, all kinds of other things too. Here we go. Let's start with Brad Gilley today. 2311 will not win a race this year.
Oh, I'm going to have to say black flag. Because they have a lot of speed.
Well, of course they do.
Well, there.
Oh my God, that was just perfect.
This guy stinks.
Okay, now.
I love it. Yes.
Easy.
So much
Doug
speed.
Rice.
Have a lot of speed. Imagine that. Green flag. No, they're not going to win.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, my gut kind of says green flag as well. I just haven't seen a whole lot. I mean, obviously, Bubba has had a more consistent year this year than he has had in years past, and he's right now still, I would say, comfortably above the cut line for the moment. But as far as like winning speed, I'm not sure that they have produced that just yet.
Okay, let's go to Doug Rice on this one. He has a lot of speed as well. Speedy answer on this. A year from today, Legacy Motor Club will have at least one win.
I'm going to go against my own heart. Yes, green flag. Yeah.
Whoa,
they
Doug
will
put
win
someone
a
in
race.
victory lane.
They will win a race. Somebody's got to win one.
That deserves a wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you? Does it get a wow?
Yes, it does. I'm going to say green flag. I think, if you would have phrased the statement to say this year, I would have maybe wavered a little bit, but I feel like they are trending in the right direction. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the show, and I think within a year, if they continue, this uphill trajectory, they're going to find their way to victory lane.
Brad Gilly.
Green flag. They have Eric Jones.
Ooh. Man crush.
Hey, look,
there.
he's already won with the organization in what was formerly known as Petty GMS, so why not with Legacy?
All right, go to Alexis on this one. Trackhouse will get all of their drivers to victory lane before Joe Gibbs Racing.
Oh, wow, that's a really good one, actually. That's gotta think hard on that one. I'm gonna say black flag. And the reason why is because I think, Suarez is struggling a bit, as is Ty Gibbs. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I think he's at that line that, what is it, Brad, 90-something win or 90-something starts, 100 starts, when that seasoning comes in and you can get into victory lane. He's getting around that mark. So I think that Ty Gibbs will win before Daniel Suarez.
All right. Is that going to happen, Brad?
I say green flag. Yes. Maybe it happens this weekend at Echo Park Speedway where Suarez has won, and not just the win, he has a really good record there. Look, when you get to road courses, I almost think it's a push. Ty Gibbs has a lot of speed at those, but so does Daniel Suarez.
Of course he does.
Brad, Doug Rice.
There's that scene in Animal House where he has the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and
yes,
there's a discussion going on there. That's how I kind of feel about this. I don't know which one of these.
It's a toss up.
It really is. Suarez wins before Ty Gibbs. I really like Daniel Suarez, so whatever goes in favor of him. There.
All right, and I've got a bonus 20-point question here.
All right.
Here we go. I'll start with Brad on this one. When it comes to ice cream, it's always cone over cup.
Oh, green flag. All the way. Yeah, and it's Bluebell.
Wow, picky.
All right, Doug.
Waffle cone, especially.
Yeah.
I got to go waffle.
Like the detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Alexis.
See, as a mother of a toddler,
which these guys aren't.
The cup is necessary, mandatory, and if you go to the ice cream parlor by my house, take you in the Wayback Machine, by my house, you can get a waffle cup. So you can,
Really?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
Yep, you can. So that's what I usually go for. I go for a waffle cup.
Interesting.
Mind is
Never knew.
officially blown. Wow.
Well,
There it
that's
goes.
what I'm
That's
here for,
big.
gentlemen.
Yeah, that is big.
Huh.
All right, Doug Rice.
All right, thanks a bunch. We'll come back with one last thing.
Look, how do you feel today? Maybe you're a little hungover again, feeling a little embarrassed about a few things? Listen, why haven't you called yet to get help? Man, aren't you tired of feeling this way? So listen, whatever your party drug of choice is, there are ways to get clean and sober, especially if it's messing with your life. Hey man, we all have choices. You can make a choice right here, right now, today, to call the number I'm about to give you and start a brand new life without drugs or booze. I know it's hard to think about this, but imagine how great your life could be. And all it takes is one simple phone call. I've got a team of people standing by ready to check your insurance and let you know what it takes to get clean and sober. Okay, so get ready to save this number because here it comes.
800-296-1140. 800-296-1140. 800-296-1140. That's 800-296 1140. Paid for by the Detox Treatment Helpline.
I'm Chase Elliott, and you're listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
Get your NASCAR fix with PRN's Garage Pass.
It's hard to just turn it around in 1 week, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did.
I don't think the results have been what we have hoped for or expected, but I think the potential in the cars and the speed has been pretty good.
It's a big deal already, so that's a big positive for us. So I think now it's just about working together and getting better.
I think the Penske cars are still elite when it comes to plate racing.
Hi, I'm Mark Darrow, tracking the latest racing news every weekday.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Really enjoyed having Ron Capps on. What an interesting guy. It makes me a drag race fan now. I was fascinated by his stories. By the way, the in-season tournament starts this weekend at Echo Park Speedway.
Some interesting matchups.
The artist formerly known as Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a lot of cool matchups. Alexis, can you hit just a couple of them off the top?
Well, the number one seed, Denny Hamlin.
Yep.
He goes up against Ty Dillon, which normally you might say, oh, well, that's a piece of cake. But we're going to Echo Park Speedway, folks. Okay. Yeah. I think every matchup on here is more evenly matched than you would think because of where we're going this weekend and how much it can shake up this bracket.
And Brad, like any other tournament, this is for the 5 races that TNT will cover. The winner gets $1 million. Apparently, Chase Elliott wasn't even aware that this was going on.
Okay, first of all, Brad and I call whatever you would call on that because we talked to him about this in February at Playoffs Media Day. We asked him about it.
It doesn't surprise me that Chase doesn't live much outside of his world, even though this is within his world. But I'm talking about just the number 9 team. If you're wondering how this is going to work, has zero impact on points and playoffs and regular season championship and all of that. It is literally, they just took the best finish over the last 3 races and seeded drivers. Denny Hamlin simulated this over the last couple of years. In the first year, William Byron won it. He didn't get any money. Second year was Tyler Reddick who won it, didn't get any money. But, you look at the matchups like this weekend, for example, I think this is a good one. John Hunter Nemechek and Josh Berry. John Hunter Nemechek is running very well. Josh Berry is in a Ford. We know they run well at speedways, and he runs well on 1.5-mile tracks. The best finisher between the two of them go to the next round, and they'll be paired up against another 2 drivers in a bracket, and who's the last driver standing wins the money. I think it's kind of cool. It's going to give us something else to talk about. Yep. I feel like it gets more interesting the closer we get to the Brickyard 400, which is going to be the final race of it. Then we're going to be whittled down to 2, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch the end result of how it all comes together.
I'd love for a long shot to come home with the money.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I really would. I mean, you mentioned 2 of them right there, John Hunter or Josh Berry. All right, let's quickly segue over to this next segment.
One last thing.
Brad Gilly.
All right, while you can hear every race on the NASCAR schedule through either the Motor Racing Network or the Performance Racing Network or with Indy, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Network, as Doug had alluded to earlier, we're switching TV partners again this weekend to TNT. We're still got the same great coverage, same booth with Adam Alexander, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Steve Letarte. And I know sometimes it's really easy to go, wait, where is it now? I'm confused. What's going on? I'm not going to preach to you and tell you what to do, but just please open your mind and be thankful that we have every single race in all 3 of NASCAR's top divisions covered somewhere on television or streaming. And I think we're pretty fortunate in that. That's a lot of races every year.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to broadcaster Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was moonlighting this past weekend as crew chief on Connor Zilich's car and went to victory lane. Obviously, if you watched the coverage, the CW coverage this weekend of that race, you were very well aware that Dale Jr. was on the pit box as they covered it quite widely. But what a cool story just to kind of see him. And then after the race was over, he's walking down pit road with his two girls, and just a cool story.
It is a very neat story, and he is easily the most influential person in the NASCAR world.
Absolutely.
Jim France, Steve Phelps, all the NASCAR honchos, they're big cheese. Dale Jr. speaks things into being, and good on him. I mean, he really is. I don't think there's any question. He says, "I want this to happen." It happens. So. Good on you, Dale Jr.
Fast Talk was presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. This is PRN, the Performance Racing Network.